Addiction thinks in circles, whereas invention thinks in spirals.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes,
I
yes.
love it. And spiral is not one dot, it's actually one seed becoming bigger and bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger and bigger and bigger.
So I'm grateful for that. And then two, just the pain just reminding me like this body is so amazing.
Where else can you go
Hmm.
other than inside? And
Hmm.
when you're so almost like forced to face yourself, you find lots of love. This is our morning version. We look our puffed eyes.
I know I have to wipe mine still. But that
Okay.
I got to wake up to the full moon this morning.
Oh, really?
Went right outside. Yeah, because Koa, for some reason, when he wakes up, so we'll just hear his little feet walking by us. And then he goes to the door. He always wants to go outside first thing in the morning. And I'm
Mm.
like, let's do it, buddy. Get to see the stars and the moon.
And
So
you're talking 4 a.m.
it was 4:45. Yeah.
Is that how early he wakes up?
Today was a good day. Like sometimes it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Seriously?
Yeah.
He's your natural alarm.
Yeah. That's been the story with each kid that they wake up early.
Seriously? That's so cool.
Yeah.
And Carly's knocked out, and you're like, okay, my duty.
It depends. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, happy full moon
Happy full moon.
in Aquarius, which for us, actually, let me read. Oh, actually, I lost it because, yeah, what does that mean to you?
Full
How do
moon
you
in
feel?
Aquarius.
Uh,
I just I just watched a short video about Aquarius. It was like everything you need to know about Aquarius people. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Because my mom is Aquarius, I believe. No. Yeah, I have to look. But I was just trying to like think of I'm like, who is this person? Like I don't so strange. There's like kind of elements of like rebellion. There's elements of like they make up their own mind, they go their own way. Yeah, I couldn't quite grasp it, but how about for you?
oh, well, I heard there's this really cool sentence that I heard, and I thought it was so true because I've known an Aquarius,
Mm.
and they're a water bearer. And imagine carrying that much water.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for them to, you know, protect themselves and do their mission, which is moving forward and bringing a new ways to humanity that is way ahead of our comprehension, they have to detach from the water completely and emotional burdens and emotions in general. And they carry it in this like pot, right? So you always have the mythological like picture of them carrying it
Mm-hmm.
in the pot, like the entire emotional state.
Mm.
And they just want to limit themselves from getting engaged in it so much. And I thought that was really cool because in the end of the day, I think they have a lot to do and they can get wrapped into, they have a lot to teach us. You know, that's their mission to come in and teach us something new so that we exit the cycles. Yeah. And I thought that was so interesting.
Mm. Yeah, and it's the 11th, and it kind of parallels the six lines in a way, because the five line is like the teacher, It's like the one before the
Mm,
finality, right? And and then Pisces, we're kind of just doing our own thing. And that's like the sixth line. You're like serving the role of experienced, but you're not necessarily like directly teaching. So
yeah.
is that true for Aquarius that they're here to teach and that they often take those roles of teaching or educating?
Yeah. Or just like if they know how to deal with, because they're often misunderstood.
Mm,
And that's why they rebel, because they believe truly in humanity. And there's this also saying, it's like, I love humanity. I hate people. I
yeah.
hate people in a matter of
Yeah, yeah.
like they desire to extend and bring and push forward entire
Mm,
humanity. So they get a lot affected by what is happening on a collective level. And I don't know, compared to Pisces, I think this is why maybe like each Aquarius, it says to have its own unique way. So you can't copy and paste any
mm,
story of the Aquarius to another one to kind of understand them. They're
mm,
very hard to understand, and their ways are just very different. And that's why it's very hard to kind of, like not only understand them, but also they have a hard time kind of struggling to belong, or almost like they belong on a humanitarian level, but
yeah.
to find their ways through it, because that's why they have to be like almost so unique and so abrupt and so extra different, and they will catch attention to some. So yeah, I think so too. It's more like guides or teachers too.
Okay.
Very interesting. And us Pisces, we're just so compassionate. We get it all. Blah blah blah.
That's how I feel. Uh,
Do you have this key, and do you have anyone who has it?
I don't have the key, but let me check. I'm sure one of the kids has it. I just have a feeling. How about this isn't in yours?
It's in my new pearl.
It's in your pearl?
New pearl, the new
Oh yeah,
sphere.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, which one?
Relating,
Oh wow.
which is all about the relationships, which I thought was hilarious.
That is hilarious. Jace has this, my middle child in the sphere of radiance,
Oh, wow.
and Luca has this in his evolution.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
And yeah.
Are you looking at it on a phone?
Yeah.
Can you click on it and scroll down? Click on and scroll down where it says astrology sign. I'm kind of just curious. I want to just know, what
Oh,
is it?
you mean the Jinky? Let me
Uh-huh.
look. I'm not looking at that, but I can look.
For some reason, it only shows on the phone. I can't see it on the.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too because let's see, because I'm starting to very, very, very beginner level understand astrology, and I'm seeing the connections between Jinkies
Yeah.
and let's see, Pisces.
It's Pisces.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it. Let me see. Is it mine on Pisces? I knew it. I knew it. Uh, how do you? Did you just type it in?
Yeah, Jinky 36. The animal for this is a squirrel.
A squirrel. Ah, anyway, that says a lot if it's Pisces. A lot. because I was like, this must be Piscean. There's just simply
Mm.
to have to even experience it in a blits and pieces, like even like in a moments of compassion. So when I read it, I finished, and you gave me 8 extra minutes, and then something just came to my mind, which I thought was synchronized so well, and I just wrote a post on it in a quick poem, and I was like, wow, how can pain, something that was so painful, turn into a total damn, I like it, or I'm glad, or I'm happy for you. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, this being the 36th relating key in the pearl, it's like, but this is how I relate. It's like, first, I have to really go through a lot of pain. It's like, okay, but we'll get to that point. And to get to a point where, I don't know, a couple years later, I look at things that used to be so painful for, you know, as experience, emotionally painful as experience, and to be able to say, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But genuinely, it's like, wow, it's just in a, you know, it's not the sustained states to you know, but I thought that was really cool. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I digress. So welcome to 36th
Yeah, welcome.
morning edition. So what do you think about this one?
This one, this one caught my attention in the shadow, and I think the reason why is because I've been contemplating recently about like why don't I have nightmares anymore? Like they'll have flavor or like a direction or like something will show up that's like, you know, and looking back, because I'm never really that conscious in my dreams, but in like remembering them, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a scary moment, or that could have spiraled the dream into terror and fear or like running from something. And um I would say with mostly within like the last year, and then it just seems to be getting better and better, is I'll just respond differently.
Mm.
I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go over here. Or, yeah, you're scary. Let's carry on. Like, I don't need to put all my attention on on the terror, the fear, the um and he says here, like when this hexagram would show up when they would cast the I Ching, it was often a sign of difficult times or like scary times or war or um some meta crisis. And they call it the darkening of the light. And I
Mm.
found that name to be really compelling because it's like, well, how do you darken the light? And I think the only way you can darken the light is either by turning it off or by covering it, casting a shadow. So it's just, in a way, I think when we gain the capacity for our own pain and suffering, like the capacity to hold just the experience itself instead of attaching meaning or desiring it to change, then we're able to let the light permeate. You know,
Mm.
it's almost like if it's a material that we're shining a light on, that it can shine through completely instead of blocking certain aspects.
Mm.
So I found this compelling, and I found the dream, what I just shared, to be like an analogy to essentially what's happening in my dreams or in my like subconscious states of mind. Is I'm seeing all of it, and I'm just, I'm like, it's not like apathetic shrugging, but it's just like it's just like a shrug, like, okay. Like, how can this be any worse, right? It's like, how can this, you can't like out suffer me in a way. And I think that's so true for us as Pisces, is we gain it through experience, like this wide variety of suffering.
Mm.
How about you?
I love how you put it because it's almost like in order to see something not as scary any longer, you almost have to go through a cycle of suffering again and again and again when in order to get to realization that it's not that scary actually.
Mm-hmm.
And what you said is like I've had so many nightmares, which by the way happened to me as well. I used to have these tsunami nightmares. There are I was in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Actually the wave would come over, take me, suck me in deep into the ocean. And I would just swim, 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 and always have someone that I saved.
Mm.
They still happen, but now I am no longer in the tsunami. I'm far away, either on a hill or on the boat somewhere. And I watch it, and I'm watching it with calmness. And would you say that this has to do with maturing the way of our understanding of suffering itself in these small examples, samples of what it is, what how dramatic and tragic it can feel that it is, but yet you're still alive. You
Yeah.
still keep going afterwards when it's over, when the storm is done. So
Mm-hmm.
would you say it's our own emotional maturity? Because really, what is fear doing to you? It's not, it's just an emotional blockage. It causes
Mm.
some sort of emotion of fears, right? So it's almost like some emotional disturbance that blocks you, freezes you, frightens you.
Yeah.
But you can only do it that many times until you realize, well, I'm still here, very much alive.
Yeah. Well, I think, and at some point, there's so like I think there is kind of a gate that you have to pass through because of course there are people
Mm.
that will die suffering and don't and aren't like gaining the awareness like that there's more to it than just life sucks, this is hard, push through and then die. I'm like maybe it sounds inappropriate for me to laugh, but it's the cosmic joke in that. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
I think there is like a gateway that you have to pass through to experience suffering or pain as pleasure, or have the awareness that they're both happening at the same time and not try to cure, like, cure the pain in the moment or run from it. So there's just an element of like, can you soften enough in it to turn and look at it directly?
Mm.
And I think it's interesting that your dreams, you're gaining perspective and moving away from it, but it's allowing you to see it instead of be immersed and emerged in the water itself where you're caught up in the panic. You're like you're participating in it, but you're not able to see what's really happening. You don't have the perspective. And
Mm. Mm.
how interesting that, you know, we talk about dreams and water and our emotional states. Those three are very, very keenly linked. And a dream about a tsunami is like this, emotionally speaking, it's just like this huge amount of untapped, like we haven't felt it, right? So it's gonna like wash over us. There's gonna be destructive force in it. And then we're gonna be just trying to find our way to the surface to get some air because it's overwhelming how strong it is. So
Yeah.
I think I think I lost my original point, but oh yeah, like the gateway being, have you felt that there's pleasure in the midst of it? And once you have a little bit of awareness, then you're more likely to then face it the next time. And then as you gain
Mm.
more and more trust in that process.
Okay, really cool question. So it's the path of learning that reaction to it. And it almost to me, because this is how I experienced it. And this, me as someone who has this key in relationships, in relating to anything actually in life in general, and also someone who is Pisces, who is luckily gifted. And I do consider we have gift to handle a larger amounts of distress when we learn how to, and to kind of just almost tune into it rather than running away from it, right? So, as if we want to experience all of it. That's how I'm perceiving it. The more I mature and the more I dive deep to self analyze, I understand that I can't just wish for pleasure, something, it's not just coming from the top of it. It's not even something I want to attain. It's not even something I want to get to any longer. But I certainly don't want to run away from what is happening at the time when it's happening. So, in the moments in the past when it would happen to be such a painful emotional distress, and we can just call it emotional distress, the shadow, when you're so in it that it blocks you from thinking straightforward, to knowing what you're doing, to knowing even what is happening inside. It's complete shut off of the mechanism and the system because it's such a hyper intense. And you know what it reminded me, and I just wanted to point out, this is the story behind it when you were talking in the beginning, how why there must be darkness in the light. How do you dim the light? And you know what came to my mind? Have you ever fainted? When the darkness just comes at the periphery of your eyes and just slowly takes over. And it reminded me of, like, the darkness is so much, very hard that we black out. Actually, we faint. We
Mm.
can't take it. And then suddenly you just wake up and everything is light again. And that's the metaphor to me, was like, it becomes so unbearable because I don't have capacity to handle it. But the more I'm aware that is still there, no matter what, the more I'm allowing myself to gain the capacity to handle and still stand, and then actually go through the portal of blacking out, slowly taking and dimming my light, and I'm sitting and waiting. So I can't feel the pleasure when I feel the pain. I'm not aware of it in the moments of the pain because it's taking over and I am literally frightened. My entire system, nervous system, the body, the mind, everything is just whoop, preparing for the storm.
Mm.
And yet, when it's over, and if I stay in it long enough to be aware of what is happening, that's all I have to do. This is what I'm doing, actually. I don't know if this is the only way through it, but if I am aware that the darkness is coming, I'm about to faint, but let me see how much my body can actually take without passing out. And if I'm staying there longer, then I'm able, and I know, and here's another thing, and I know it's a cycle, that there will be the light afterwards. Then
Mm.
let me see how that faint process feels between the pain and the pleasure. And only when I'm able to see both and I stand away from it, like as if like I have to process pain, suffering, in order to get to, oh, but this was actually also good, in order for me to understand the other side of it. Only then can I actually absorb both and accept both. But I don't know, can I differentiate when I suffer and when that is pleasurable at the same time? Because, yeah, it's running under the cover all the time. It's not pleasurable
Right.
unless I change the perspective. And I can't because I'm totally in a freeze, frightened, scared mode.
Mhm.
So, how about you?
Mhm.
Can you do that?
Yeah. Well, you actually brought me some clarity when you're describing it because my, if I'm just like crudely talking about it, then I would say like, yeah, I can experience or I can know that there's pleasure behind the pain or vice versa. But from hearing you talk through it, I'm like, I think what it actually is that momentary separation. It's like you're getting the viewpoint of the tsunami. It's like you can see that there's both, And then you're experiencing only one at a time, and then you can undulate between the two. Like you can, like the pendulum can swing. How fast it swings, I think that is a level of, in my experience, like the more aware I am, the faster it can swing, which increases my awareness in the moment versus like just suffering is like I'm in pain. This is so painful. I don't know if I'm ever gonna come out. I don't know if I'm ever gonna heal. And I typically when I talk about pain, for me, I think about physical pain. It's just more tangible and I have more experience with it. Um,
Like your neck being strained.
yeah, neck being strained or getting hit by a truck or,
Mm.
breaking my foot, whatever. Um,
Mm.
but in those moments, it's like I would find myself like, okay, like you said, if I go into it deeply, like when I get hit by the truck and I'm just laying on the floor and then I'm thinking about how am I ever going to fly a plane? I can't even I can't even put any weight on my leg. And then I'm like, yeah, okay. I go through the motions of like catastrophe of
Mm.
my situation and then I just start bawling and then it's just like I'm like shuddering, shivering because it's just so much. It's it's like the release of the emotion through the physical pain. I'm able to feel it. I go through it, and then all of a sudden the tears and like the sobbing and like this complete like I'm a victim of this situation, how horrible this is. What am I gonna do? And then all of a sudden I find that I'm laughing. Like
Mhm.
it's just very quick, just switch over to I'm just laughing because I don't
I
know why
love.
I'm laughing. And then I laugh more because I'm like, why am I laughing? I'm in the midst of this horrible situation. And then out of that laughter, there's like deep, deep pleasure because it's almost like the purging created so much more room for
Mm.
joy, so much more room for this is the flavor of life. Like life experience is so rich. And I just got to have a very negative polarity push me over here, and then I'm feeling the swing back. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm reframing this as like, I'm grateful that I got hit by the truck. How else could I think about it? Now with that awareness, once you have it, it's like, how else can I be but grateful for this?
Mm.
Right? It's like, what else is there? I'm either grateful or I'm asleep.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
So cool. And it's almost like pushing, 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 making it tense and tense and tense to a point of powerlessness. And he even talks about it, just get chills when I talk about it. He even talks about it. It's like even the Christ, Jesus on a cross, which begged in agony of the pain, right? So it's like it's a representation of getting to a point of powerlessness, that there's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do other than accept. And in that right moment, the pendulum, you start crying. And, another thing too, I just had an interview with the author, and I told you about this. And, I was reading her book, and it was such a heavy, not heavy, it's heavy subjects of death, drug addiction, sex addiction, alcoholism, tragedies, grief, so much grief. You're talking 40 years worth of grief.
Mm.
And I'm reading the book of 300 pages, and at 280, I'm building up, building up, building up, building up, building up. And I'm like, I can't take it. Like I had to put the book aside because it was too much and it would actually carry me over through the day. And remember, I told you I'm kind of going through some, that was partially because of the book too. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so invested with this author that I can feel her agony. It's like, oh my God. And then when I did the interview, I cried twice. It's like you're talking. so much pain built up inside.
Mm.
But you know what's funny? And she explains this 285th page. You're talking 7 days later of reading, and she explains her mother passing, and she's in a bed, still kind of graying out and getting. She explains it so well in the details. I just imagine everything, even the paintings on the wall. She's so classy, like she was so well written. And then she's picking up her daughters at the airport because their grandma is dead. And, there's a wait, I guess, like you just kind of have to figure out a couple hours of the dead body laying there. And, they're coming in and they're all freaked out in a youth age. I don't want to see, like, I'm afraid of death, right? So 16, 17, 18, I don't, I can't. It's like, it's really hard for me. And then she's parking in a thing in front of her, and one of her daughters scream, "Oh my God, I can't, I can't, I can't." So she looks through the window and she sees this dead corpse lying on the bed. So the woman forgot to close the curtains, and that dead body was exposed to the entire neighborhood to drive through and look into her. And she was already grayed out at that hours. And it was so funny, Eric, that I laughed for hours. And I laughed and I laughed and I cried. And I just had this release in such a joke. It was as if it was just full pressure on and then an
Mm.
explosion. And I laughed at this scene. And then she writes, they laughed all. And then she writes, the emotional release is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
There must be an emotional burst or emotional release for something, because we can't take that much happiness inside of us. We would die. It would kill us. And I find that to be really, really interesting when we deal with emotions. It's like, really, how much can you handle? And is
Mm.
every next time that this happens, which, by the way, it will happen, nobody gets just saved for nothing, not one human being. You will emotionally suffer. How much can you handle? And can you handle next time in the next round a little bit more?
Hmm. Does it feel like, does it feel like as you deepen your awareness, your capacity increases and then you're given more? Or is it just that it's always been there, but you weren't able to access it the first time, and then now you have a little bit more that you can access?
I
I think,
didn't know how to access it.
yeah, okay.
And I think the experience of it coming at me taught me how to slowly learn about it and slowly understand it and access it. So I don't think it gets easier, actually. I think it gets harder each time. And I think the harder it gets, the more awareness is possible and the more you can take on.
Hmm, interesting.
But I have to add, it's not the amount or the weight of the suffering. It's actually the amount and the spaciousness of love or self love of these good qualities in humans that comes after that. That is so rewarding that nothing breaks being grateful. That's where I think grace comes in, when you're so grateful for it afterwards that you can't help but not to have compassion for self and for others that are in suffering. And it doesn't hurt when you look at others suffering. It hurts when it hits you.
Hmm,
And when it
yeah.
hits you, oh, it wasn't me. Oh, I'm lucky.
Hmm.
But when it hits you, what you're doing with it is really bringing the reward afterwards to that evolution and expansion, is how I feel and how I think of it.
Hmm.
It's like, I can choose. That's when I think the choice comes in. It's like, I can choose to allow the process to end when it needs to end, I can also choose to sit with it, learn about it, analyze it, feel it, wonder about it, almost be curious about it. As, a good writer will be. Ask
Hmm.
questions. Ask it directly. Ask yourself why. Start contemplating inside. And I don't know, one day you just wake up and you're like, wow, good for you. And genuinely good for you. You who hurt me a lot.
Hmm.
Hurt me. You can't hurt me. But you who was a representation and a catalyst of so much pain in me.
Yeah.
You didn't hurt me. I had to go through it.
Hmm. Do you think um in
Oh,
your dreams how you used to help save someone from the tsunami? Was it always clear who it was? Like, did you always have someone in mind?
it was random. It was one time it was Kim Kardashian. It was so random. My
Yeah.
nephews, my family, strangers.
Do you think those were like, I mean, this is my belief when it comes to dreams, is I try my best to find how is this characterization of something within myself.
Mm.
Do you resonate with that at all? In the sense that maybe,
Mm. I I always have a sense it is something that I'd known of. And it just comes
Mhm.
back as this kind of brief remembrance. Something, and I say something because it's not always the soul, it's also my own feeling, of, oh, I'll be fine, or oh my God, it's coming. And often before, it used to be a large amount of change in my life, relocation, different job, a total tower moment of collapse, and then rebuilding right after the tsunami. And every time I would have it, I would be like, oh my God, I know this pattern. Something big is going to happen,
Yeah.
including the death in the family, because it was that coincidental. It was so weird that I couldn't think of any other way. And then I started moving. And it happened when I started analyzing myself inside. And then in the
Hmm.
dreams, I started moving and they became less and less, which also I'm like, yeah, but I can't find the character. What about you?
Yeah, it's like often the dream states are our own emotional waters, right? And then we take characterizations based on what we experience, but they often have aspects within us as that take on those characters. And even in like the most, you know, like I had the strangest dream last night.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, which part of that is me? Or like how can I, and to me what it is like um yeah, it's just broadening the awareness. But I think the difference is when I can take it as I don't know what I don't know exactly what this is or what this is for, but if there was some aspect that was within me, what would that mean? So, okay, is that like a repressed emotion that's happening, or is there like, okay, maybe it's some part of me that feels like a victim here,
Mm.
or feels wronged, or feels betrayed, or feels, just giving an extra moment to consider it from that light of of course I'm experiencing it from first person, but also the this person in the dream or this animal or this whatever, that's some aspect of my perspective as well.
Mm. Mm. And do you get ever satisfied with your own answers about it?
No, I mean, yeah, that question is pretty tricky. Um, is there another way to ask it or a different?
I can only ask it through the story. But let's remember, because knowing your dreams and interpreting them is giving you some sort of certainty, which calms you down. Watch this.
Mm-hmm.
And he writes, the turbulence exists because uncertainty exists. So, is it that we need to find the answers? Example, or we need to have some certainty to hold on to in order for this shadow to calm down a little bit and not be so turbulent in us.
Hmm. Say that one more time. I'm soaking it in.
So the shadow, and I'll rephrase it a different way. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this because I think it's brilliant. You Pisces. Turbulence, right? So it's almost like when I feel unsettled, when I feel powerless, it's because I don't know what is happening.
Yeah.
Because I cannot predict. It's unpredictable and it's also unknown and it's
Yeah.
also I can't
Uncontrollable. Yeah.
uncontrollable. It's not certain. But watch. When we're certain in something, this is why I love my new love author who I desire deeply to meet in person, but yet I will probably get disappointed. So I'm holding the desire and I think I'll die loving her.
It's
She
beautiful.
comes in and questions this exact thing. And she comes in and says, dogma is when you're certain in something and you think you're certain in something, just so that way you don't feel turbulent, you kind of feel settled into your own opinion, births dogma, which births the opposing sides of something, which gets to extreme and stuff, right? So it's almost asking to prove itself, and it's asking to see who is in the opposition. And she goes into the extreme on a human level to really start thinking about it. The moment we're certain is the moment that it's the most dangerous possible, because out of that comes the
Hmm.
dogmatic way of thinking and almost like extreme no, duality. Dualities are birthed. So the question here is turbulence and emotional turbulence happens because I want to be certain that you love
Hmm.
me, you need me, I'm valid, I'm valuable, I belong, I'm worthy. I need that certainty, which is why I'm in a total chaos inside because I'm uncertain.
Hmm.
So, is knowing what to do with the feelings or knowing what is the feeling for and having a definition of the emotion or labeling in DSM-5, this is the mental state, this is the emotional, this is psychological, this is this is that, this is spiritual, will knowing give us a possibility to create the new world as an artist of the life. I
No.
love it.
Yeah.
So, meaning, if our dream is like a new book, out there, there's no rules. You actually can rule whatever that you want. You can create your consciousness and subconscious is creating a totally new world every single night. It never repeats itself. It is recreated out of who knows what, we'll never know. And it changes the colors, it changes the platform, it changes everything. It bends the clock. It's Salvador Dali's world
Mm.
of possibilities, endless possibilities. And it is part of us. We don't go to jail for killing someone in the dream. But you're still, it's part of you. It's only your dream. And nobody dreams your dreams. You dream
Hmm.
your dream. So if I were to understand, because I'm so uncomfortable being a murderer, and like it freaks me out in this physical life, awake life, which is ironic we call it awake. If I were to know what that means for me, would I really actually allow myself to process the emotional turbulence that it brings me?
Hmm. Yeah. In the sense of,
I love it.
I do love it too. In the sense of dreams, and you open the question actually by saying, do you find your answers calm the turbulence? And I'm like, well, I don't. see that I have any answers from it, actually. So because I maybe this is me being stuck in certainty, but because I just like questioning it and saying, and I feel like questions are portals. They open up new paradigms and new perspectives. And when we allow them to just be questions and not have to have an answer to them. So in that sense, I'm asking the question, I'm like, okay, Carly was in my dream last night. What aspect of her, like, if I'm trying to gain more awareness of whatever experience was happening, let me just shift and see it from her eyes for just that moment. And all of a sudden it's like I can see more. It just opens up more. I don't really have the answer, and I'm not like trying to apply a framework or a system to it. I don't have like a dream. And this would be the temptation for me, would be like, oh, I'm gonna create a framework or a system for dream analysis. I'm gonna plug it in with AI, and then I'll just be able to type in my dream, and then AI will be like, here's what happened. Here's your experience. And I think in that sense, it does diminish or dilute the potency of it. It's like you filter it down, right? You take out the impurities, but you also miss some aspect of truth and just the experience itself in the unknown. And I love that you're bringing up this aspect of the unknown and how when we desire control, we limit ourselves. We limit our experience and our ability to relate, our ability to have the humanity that's in this jinky and the ultimately the compassion that comes with it,
Yeah.
which includes self-compassion.
Which happens when you let go of
Hmm.
trying to define anything, which it limits its own potency, like you said. Which also, the moment we start, but the question is, can you handle the turbulence that these things, not only in dreams, but in real life, bring to you? Can you handle how much of the turbulence can you handle, and can you grow capacity to handle, especially emotional turbulence? And this being a Pisces keys, I think we're gifted and we're lucky, which, by the way, we are the most addictive prone sign if we don't learn this exact thing, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And this is why we don't want to come back. This is why we want
Yeah.
to live there
Hmm.
rather than coming back into the suffering of the being human on earth. It just gives me chills. Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, can I just read this?
Hmm.
Because it uses humans, highlighting it, uses humans as experiential eyes to probe the outer limits of consciousness itself, and demands that we look into the darkness, put our fears aside, and plunge in regardless.
Hmm.
And it here being something so much larger than we can even comprehend. Total uncertainty and unknown.
Yeah.
It uses us humans and our eyes and our experiences to probe its outer limits and expansion and potential. I love it.
Yeah. We we had a brief, you were sharing something in the group, and I think I replied with something that was, and you said, if we co-wrote a book, would anyone ever understand it?
What are we talking about? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said everything is a story. Everywhere you look, there is a story to tell. And what's best about it, it is different in every moment. Isn't this kind of extra cool? And I said, the one into many for the broadest stroke of what it means to live.
I
So,
totally understood what you're saying. And then I thought if we were to co-write the book, co-write a book, would anyone actually buy it? Because you see, and then I thought how brilliant would be for Pisces to write a book.
yeah, I guess we'll see. Chapter one.
We do have a lot of ideas, and they call us flaky because
We don't
we don't
finish.
complete them.
Yeah.
But wait, I must say something. Having an idea is its frequency on itself that we are working towards, and
Hmm.
it's almost like a fleshing out a potential of new novel that has the human qualities. So the fact that we are having an ideas is already so much work, if you ask me. And
Yeah.
they're a gift for everybody. And it's totally, no idea is selfish,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah, once it's shared, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that we could say there about the tendency to not finish things or flake out or and in my experience it's like, well, I have new insight, I have new understanding, and I don't want to do that thing anymore. And it's like, you know, I used to tie myself to it and push and then force an outcome. I would get myself to the ninth step, and then when it's time to take the 10th, I'm like, I cannot. Like my body won't go there. And now I'm like, hmm, I hope I can get out at like step 3 or step 4, so I don't have to get all the way to the end and then have this like crisis where it feels like major life swing. And I think people in my family, that's how they probably look at me like, what's Eric's new thing he's got going now? It's like pilot, I'm a financial planner, I'm a, you know,
Well, let me
mm,
ask you this.
name
For
it.
those things that you completed, did you feel what other people feel usually? Like, I'm just going to give you the example of Virgo, for example, or people that just like organization and they're grounded and they love completion and they thrive in it. It's like it makes them feel so confident and steady. Did you feel that whenever you completed anything?
Um, when I finished my MBA, I quit my job and then I traveled to Europe with a backpack. It was like I needed the opposite. I was like, fuck
Yes.
this.
I left the country.
Yeah. You're like, you got your MBA, so you're gonna get a promotion, right? And then work your way up the company. I'm like, no. I even cashed out my 401k. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this life.
Me too.
I don't want to postpone the experience. I want to have it. I want to feel it.
But you see, I think that's how we evolve. We're able to evolve in a different way a lot from other people. Yes, we get judged by not completing anything, but what is the point of wasting such a limited amount of lifetime here in this school while doing something that my heart is not in it? No offense
Mhm.
taken, but it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with me, and I'm going to follow my heart. One or the other way, I'm going to follow where the flow goes. We're so flowy in nature that
Right.
the ocean is not enough. We're literally living in the endless universe of water. And it is the example. And I think in today's day when emotions are so hard to handle, especially because people are not equipped, will be like the example of
Mhm.
smiling at everything as a cosmic joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really needed in the world. And it's a torch to carry though. It's like It's like maybe before this awareness, I had the like, oh, I can play small and do my own thing. I'll just be in the corner over here. You guys, like you guys meaning the world. You carry on. I'll just I'll keep the peace in my own little world. But then now I'm like, people need this. Like there's not a lot of awareness around our emotional states and how to handle them. And it seems so simple.
Well, to us. And I think it feels simple because we live in it. Day, night, doesn't matter. Everything is emotion. Even our dreams are full of emotions. You have
Yeah.
to feel something. But I'll say one thing here is that because they're so turbulent and they're so scary for many others, I tend to think everybody feels like I do. But I often forget that not everybody is the same and it's not
Mhm.
processing the way I process. So it's hard for me to believe that humanity isn't suffering when I'm not. It's like I can't I know, but I can't I feel different, right? So I feel a collective evolving actually. It's really hard to feel anyhow different when you're in the state. So, but what's happening is that our isolation of these states is pushing us from away from one another. And that's where the
Mhm.
turbulence, uncertainty brings the dogma, which brings the limits and borders of the country, different cultural differences, the religious differences, different freaking politics and everything else. It goes into such extreme of isolation that I no longer see you as me. I now
Mhm.
see you as African American, or I see you as Palestinian, or I see you as European, or Polish, or not, like German, and you have a history. So I limit, 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 limit. And when I get to such a limited form of my perception of you, oh, no, I'm no longer turbulent.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big, big danger, right? So I
The danger of
feel
knowing.
the danger of being so certain,
Mm.
because I cannot accept you. And listen, you are me. So you
Yeah.
have lungs and heart and two eyes, and like we are actually sharing the time and the space at the same time, and awareness and collective. It's like it's very hard for people to deal with emotional turbulence, and it's more needed. This is why I cried on the podcast, because I'm like, there's just this massive yearning for healing. And when you talk about healing, you're talking about, in my opinion, understanding of your emotional burdens and unlayering them. Because I'm not going to limit you. If I'm trying to limit you, I'm limit my potential to evolve, because I'm just going to become more complex. And if don't know how to deal with my own inner turmoils and turbulence, I have to ask for help. And my dog is not going to help me, nor will this plant help me. Yes, we're all here having our own consciousness, but I need you. I need you. I desperately need you. I need you. I need another alike in order to figure out how to deal with inner turmoil. And
Hmm.
this is the contribution to the collective too. It's like I don't want to ever be certain,
Yeah.
but I want to learn how to be more comfortable in uncertainty.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think of we often we often say like I understand or do you understand as a parallel to certainty. And I think of the word, often we cast spells with our word, right? With spelling, understand it means you stand under something or someone, means you give up your power.
Wow. When you
Hmm.
break it down like that.
Yeah. So intentionality with our word and what it means, or just hearing like, what are you really at? Like when someone says, "Do you understand now?" It's like, can you feel that you're trying to come up here, right? Ultimately, the rigidity of knowing means we place ourselves above or below someone else or something else. And ultimately, that's an illusion. Like the illusion is that there is order and structure and there's a place for everything. And the reality, I think this is what we're bringing. The reality is there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of uncertainty. And the more you can embrace it, it's going to feel hard, right? But the better, I shouldn't say better, the closer to what is will appear. Like the closer to how things truly are without our projections, what was it again? The darkening of the light. So it's like anytime we place our certainty upon this uncertain universe, we darken the light, in my perspective. Anyway, good point to
Did you say that
transition
right?
the darkening of the
Oh,
light.
yeah, you said every time we place uncertainty to this certain universe, we darken the light.
If I did, I apologize. I meant the opposite.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I thought you did. But it's also what you just said brought up a lot of questions. And I really want to invite this. This is why it's like question freaking everything, right?
Yeah.
And when question yourself,
Hmm.
and by that one question, there may never be a good answer, but you actually don't want the answer. You want the question. That you will never find the answer. You just have to get comfortable with not knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, school system, it's a
Oh,
lot of conditioning that there is an answer and that you must find the answer and that you get rewarded for the answer, the right answer. And I think the best school systems are ones that enable us to ask questions and sit with them.
yeah.
That's why
Mm,
mom's calling.
that's why. Oh, wow. Okay, side question. Do you find synchronicities lately? A lot of
Uh,
synchronicities.
yeah, all the time. But yesterday was like pretty big, a pretty big day of like, yeah. How do you define that, right?
Are they shocking to you? Those moments
Yeah,
of like,
it's always like I think that's what it is. It's like it's hard to have a synchronicity and be like, yeah, I knew that. Because in a way that kind of blocks it. Like
yeah, yeah.
they stop coming when you get all righteous about it. But yeah, they're always shocking. It's like, okay, really? Wow, cool.
Yeah, that. I love how little I have to say about it
Hmm.
right when it happens. And it's like, I'm just noticing there's just so many. And they take my breath away so much that I want to, like
Yeah,
it's very elevated and high in
yeah,
elevation feeling of realization. It's like, and
yeah,
shocking how I have never anything to say about it rather than, okay.
yeah,
Zzz.
yeah,
Okay. Anyway.
yeah. And I noticed you did like a little bow because we find a way to honor it and there's no words for it, right? But like a bowing is it's like the humility of the story of the eye and like how it's melting away. Like ultimately when you have a synchronicity, your understanding of how much you control is just shattered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A
It's like,
certainty.
yeah, what can I do but bow to this moment? And in bowing, you humble yourself and you open actually to more. Yeah. How cool. And I,
Yeah.
when we go on a venture of like, okay, should we start a group and open it up to people and do this contemplation? And we're like, yeah, yeah, let's start the group. And I'm like, I start doing this planning of okay, I'm going to reach out to people. I'm going to talk about this thing. I'm going to see how many people I can get in the group. And then we start having synchronicities. And the temptation is to be like, no more plans, no more deciding how it's going to look, no more. Like, I almost just want to, like, how could I surrender more into the offering? Like, let's offer what we're talking about now, the richness, the questions, the unknowing. Let those be like, you can call them pillars, but even pillars denote some level of understanding. So we just go in with the desire for deeper awareness. And then, yeah, I guess my question is like, do you feel that structure or structuring takes away from the potential for synchronicity? And then how do we,
100,000%.
and then how do we, maybe we just ask that question, or maybe we just sit with it. Hmm.
I think it has its own time. That's why the momentum of it is all that we need to kind of figure out how to catch it. And sometimes it's right now. And often it's actually the right now because the birthing of the idea is happening in that moment. And then you get this nudge of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But how often do we jump on that train? That's the
Yeah.
question. And do we jump on the train? Because by the time we figure out the entire structure, print it out and do everything, it's like the wave is gone. And now I have to do it because I planned all this.
Ah, yeah.
And you don't want to do it and
That's
your
the
heart is
worst.
not in it.
Or do you feel
And that's,
do
uh,
do you feel like you're still on that wave of that offering?
I think it's brilliant, but I think it's not actually what it's all about. I think almost like when so this is good if you have books, right? So you don't read all of them all the time, but you feel drawn to some of them sometimes to study them, right? So but this is why Jinky Contemplations for 2 years almost soon to be, it's a perfect example on not planning, just dedicating
Hmm.
time. All we had to do was time and space. That's all we did, actually, and a book. Nothing else
Hmm.
happened out of it. And it's such a good template to notice how we actually enter with the heart. And our mind is gone. So whenever other example came in for our ideas, we wanted to go with the mind. Oh, this, that. And it just vanished. The
Hmm.
the the sense of it vanished. So we I don't know. Trying to understand it or give it any answer, I think it's gonna lead us nowhere. It will always be the dead end. My experience of it. But
Yeah.
overall, there's a looming overall. There's an overall energy as if like we have to try all these different things, ideas that we have, and not complete them unless we feel that that's the right thing to do. So our feeling is what we are getting guided to. And I have to have 10,000 ideas for it. And I will. And maybe
Mm.
you can get annoyed by it. Everybody else is not going to understand it. They'll call you jumping ball, flaky all over the place. Fine. But I'm
Yeah.
coming up with the ideas. And it's the wave that of experience that I want to jump in that will experience itself will hold me rather than me trying really hard to make it perfect. And I think your Aries rising. So you are led by your head for a lot of things. And this is how you show to the world. This is how you want to be seen. Your through your capacities
Yeah.
for going and really being logical about a lot of things. But your Jinky Pearl is challenging you for that exact thing. It's like, can you get into the heart and sense it when your heart is ready for such thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
You always ask these questions of how much, how, what do you mean? You are instantaneously on it. You're fire. You're like a firecracker. You burn like real fast.
Yeah.
And then I can sense that with these questions, I think, because I really want to meet you there, I want to feel my way through it. But it almost feels like the desire for it is burnt by the questions of ta, 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 let's do it, let's do it. It makes sense. It has to be envisioned in the head rather than allowed space for the heart to happen. Example. I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
I'm right. You tell me.
No, I feel it's funny because I was sitting with it and I'm like, I love this idea, but the the date that I put on it and then the pressure of like I said we have to find two, otherwise we won't do it. And I'm sitting here now as you're talking about like all of this stuff and I'm like, what why did I draw an arbitrary circle on a calendar and why did I put a line in the sand of commitment for other people? Like that's just number one, it's limiting what we can create. It's limiting who can join. It's limiting how it will evolve and be like maybe this isn't for them. Maybe this is for you, for me. Maybe this is for you. But I don't need to. It's funny because like I'm like, okay, business structure. Like, okay, I know what will work for people. I know how to market. I know how to talk about this. Let's structure it this way. Let's talk about the timetable and get this all figured out. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, who would even do this? You know, because I've almost constricted it down. And then I have this tiny little ball that I have to put people in. And yeah, what feels resonant right now is like, hey, we're dedicating time. That's what it is.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like, thank you for reframing that for me too. Like that's all we're doing here with the Gene Keys podcast because it's been so transformative just this time.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And it's totally uncertain. It's actually leading us to total uncertainty, and we trust it with our hearts. And when I was talking to, because I forgot about the whole thing, and then it came to me because a friend of mine was just we were talking about the laws and U.S. stuff and things like that, and I was like, well, honestly, and we were talking about just being in LA in general,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, so this is where we have to ask good questions, and this is where we're going to design this container and la la la. And I started talking about it. And the more I talked, I looked into his eyes and I'm like, there's certain power coming from this idea through me. And I'm like, the space is going to be contemplated. But the reaction for it was total ego. I actually attacked his head to think differently outside the box and it couldn't enter into his heart. And to me, that was like, oh, so if you were to come in, you were to come in completely for your own self-centeredness because
Yeah.
you're asking for the benefit of it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want something in return, and the space is so not that actually. And then I realized I was like, oh, you will never be able to sell the space that has
Yeah.
no ROI,
Yeah. Yeah.
return on your investment, unless you think the investing time is priceless.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Reframing that. I also think there's an invitation for contribution. It's like, um, I see
Mm-hmm.
these qualities in you and I value your contribution. I want to see what you can bring to this space because ultimately you have something to contribute. You have a unique perspective and we need your voice. And that kind of changes it of like, no, it's not about what you're getting. It's about what are you able to give and can you give, right?
Yeah. Yes. What are you bringing to the table rather than taking from?
Hmm. Yeah. And that's
Man.
how this current group we're in, Aisha reached out and she said, I feel like you'd be a great leader in our group. I feel like you'd be someone that could like kind of anchor it. And she was just like complimenting me. And I'm like, okay, sure. And funny enough, when she invited the um, the other girl in the group, she did it in a completely different way. And then when we were kind of like fleshing this out for Aisha because she's thinking about how to expand this out to other people. And we're like, well, let's look at how did you recruit us? Recruit. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't even know I did it differently for both of you." And it was like, yeah, well, the conversation was open and you just naturally felt called to share it, and you shared it in a completely different way for my personality than you did for her personality, and it resonated with each of us, and we came to the group, and it's not like we expected different things. We actually, it worked out so well. And it's just interesting how that's another example of how like too much structure on the front end can limit the potential. And also like if we go too structured, I'm thinking like, okay, they need to know who Blavatsky is. They need to be interested in the esoteric. They need to have some semblance of gene keys. And then it's like that, like who's coming in? I'm just not seeing outside of that frame anymore. But there's all these people out here that are like that would love to have a container. So anyway, we're
Yeah.
kind of digressing here, but
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, beautifully put, but your ROI is your own contribution. You're absolutely right. It's nobody else going to do it. And in accountability group, I think it shows very well how much you're willing to push yourself
hmm
without having your train. Same thing with the gym. Do you really need a coach to yell at you?
no.
But there's a lot of people that need a coach. And they want the entire thing to be done for them. No
Yeah.
effort. Chew my food, please, if you can.
Yeah.
Chew.
Yeah. Can
And
you
it
pump my
shows the
heart for
willingness.
me?
Right. So it's like, yeah. Anyway. Wow. Okay.
Hey, so before,
How
maybe you had
much?
an idea, but I'm like, yeah, we're getting close. But there's a lot of talk here about lust and sexuality, and we haven't even touched it yet. And I thought
Okay.
you might have a lot to say.
What's your question? Maybe you have a lot to say.
Um, let's think here. Oh wow. Okay, I feel like I just read a sentence and I'm like, well, this is a very interesting way to frame it. Sexual lust is simply a low frequency expression of the evolutionary urge to break through another boundary of experience. Wow. I've never thought about it that way. That's really interesting. It's like it's like the yeah, like we want to broaden our experience. We want to have the broadest stroke of what it means to live. And then in the lower frequencies, that means it's animalistic, right? It's like carnal. It's like I want to consume, I want to take, I want to because in that desire, it's like getting more. It's just interesting.
Yes, I think you said the key word. I want to take.
Yeah.
I want to take, which is very much I want to experience it. It is not in consideration with the other.
Yeah.
And I
The dual
think,
experience.
yes, and I think that's where he also speaks about is like taking one's own and others'
hmm
feelings into consideration. So the last is, you know, how I understand it is the running away from the turbulence. And
Yeah.
it's like it comes as this like urge to pleasure, to need so much pleasure, right? So it's almost like I need to pleasure myself. I need some sort of like quick
Simulation. Yeah.
stimulation. And I find it that it kind of multiplies itself.
Yeah,
It's almost as if
totally.
like it multiplies. You can't stop thinking about it. Your body feels chemically different, altered. But I have been thinking about the whole point of celibacy in general. And also okay, I'm going in a multiple different directions for the
Let's go.
same exact point. And this whole week, there's one sentence that my mom wrote in her poem back in her early ages of her life, like 30s. I think she had me at that point too, but she wrote something in a matter of the happiness, shall we also call it the love, capital L, is beautiful until it's desired, but never attained. Like the happiness cannot be attained as a state to live in all the time, nor capital L love, nor any love. But it's so beautiful when it's penetrating you and you're almost like reaching your hands and but there's an infinity in front of you. You don't know how far you can reach it, but you're still reaching. And it's beautified as a feeling and sensation inside, which I think is the only way how I think it's like you can sustain the sexual desire that comes from deep, even animalistic level and primal level to recreate. And getting dependent on it as if you're about to take on it, conquer it, grab it, have it, turns into this like lustful, carnal, almost like dark shadow of it or darkness, right? So it's very scary, I think, because it's very powerful. And we're almost playing with two different magic potentials for self destruction and self evolution. That which creates us all, that which brings split second of awareness where there's just flat line of nothingness. They often say it's like when you orgasm. Just a good example. When you get to the portal, do you really think about anything? When you get to that moment of explosion of the Big Bang of Nova.
No, no, it's very, and it's funny because, um, like sexual manifestation where you're like trying to embody the feeling or put yourself in that future state that you want to be a part of. I always struggle with that because I'm like
You
I don't
can't.
want to. There's nothing there.
Yeah, even in Vita, they're teaching us the sex magic. It's called sex
Yeah,
magic.
yeah.
But really, in that moment, and I'm only talking about the
Yeah,
moment of where
pinnacle.
you're, they say when you fuck your brains out, which is when you lose yourself
Mhm.
completely in floating nothingness, is the glimpse of the reality
Hmm.
of who you are, who we all are, which is really one big unknown. And it never repeats itself again and blah, 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 stuff like that. But anyway, there's a moment of tease. And if right after you start talking or smoking cigarette and
Yeah.
everything else is like, you're so dependent on it that you want to understand it, you want to get it certain, right? But how long can you actually stay in the uncertainty of it too? And what will it bring to you? And are you becoming addicted to it? Is my question. What is it? Is it that it brings to you that you are becoming slowly addicted to it? And, it goes much more psychologically, into the fantasy land and also as a part of our consciousness, unknown and undescribed, but that doesn't mean you're acting like that to it. So why does the celibacy, which is the sustained desire maintained in the body and form that it's limited, skin encapsulated, how Gotham likes to call it, why is the celibacy one of the paths to get to the enlightenment? Why is the sustained desire to reach the edges of the potential of self exactly where you let it eat you alive, kill you in a metaphorical way, not in a physical way, but rather than sustaining that desire for it to live inside of you until your body is alive?
Hmm.
Rest.
Good
That's one of
question.
the. I don't have the answer for it, but it's a living entity. Almost it feels like a living entity. And to be able to consider, and this is only from the self-centered perspective. I'm only talking about the self-centered perspective. This is where the last is me, 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 me. What am I getting from? But imagine if this is to be shared with another. And if you are potentially, possibly, never ever knowing if this is actually reality, to meet with the other and consider the other's evolution in it as well at the same time, which is that intimate, private, unknown, unverbalized emergence from merging with another body, another energy, another frequency, heart to heart, alignment, auras, fields, name it. And considering the other to invite someone else to come into your field so much to alter everything about you, in you, your soul. I believe this is very possible. And I don't know if I'm crazy to think so. I believe this is so powerful to do. And just to add to that, it actually never requires coming to an end of orgasm when intimate with
Yeah.
someone.
Hmm.
It actually doesn't want to get there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's not
you're
about the sex and lust and coming.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is this is wild because I went on a have you heard of white tantra? Okay. I'm gonna be a little bit careful in how I talk about it, but essentially it's a celib celibate way of being in a relationship, and it's kind of culty, and it's tied in with the Gnosticism,
Hmm.
the Gnostics, which is like very, it's like an offshoot of Rosicrucianism,
Wow.
which is, yeah, there's like, there's
Right
lineages
sided.
and the history. Um, but essentially white tantra is like you meet with a partner, and in white tantra it's a man and a woman, which that's part of like a red flag of like it has to be this way. It's very rigid
Right
and
sidedness.
yeah.
Right wing of Tantra.
And and then it's just about breathing, experiencing, and there is penetration, but there's no orgasm. And in fact, if you like apparently when they had churches for this or whatever they called it, they would have an inner circle where you practiced it in a group setting or something. And if someone were to spill semen, they were immediately cast out. And I think there's a story of like they were killed actually. It's I don't who knows how much of this is just fantasy or reality. But what's interesting is I went down this path when we first moved to Hawaii because I was frustrated with how lust was showing up for me and how I was reacting to it and how it felt like I didn't have control over it. So, and I found White Tantra and I was like, oh, this is very curious. And let me just step into it and just explore. And I found bits of truth throughout it, but I went 8 months of my own personal celibacy. And the whole time I'm like trying to convince Carly to also want this experience of like, no, we're not gonna have an orgasm. We're not gonna pursue that. It's not gonna be about the physical sexual pleasure. It's gonna be about the more spiritual, the feeling of the unknown, like the desiring each other and that desire, how it strengthens like this, the feeling you have leading up to, and then you never reach the culmination. And then because after the peak, there's a valley. And so kind of it's almost like sustaining this state of in between of the unknown. And I find that there's truth there. In my experience, it was like this is a I'm you almost think of like, okay, an erect phallus, and it's just like pulsing with life force and energy, and it's just like ready to go, and that energy carried out in my life. Like, I would meet people that were a little bit more connected, and I met this one guy, and he's like, "Whoa, brother." He's like, "I see what you're doing. You got a lot of energy around you." And I'm like, "Yeah, man." There's kind of, and it was difficult to balance, like, okay, of course there's an element of, or there's a part of myself that's repressing. There's a part of myself that's enjoying the experience of like you're always getting there, never arriving. Um, the difficulty looking back was Carly was actually coming into more of like sexual liberation of she had repressed and had trauma and was trying to find her way back to pleasure that wasn't riddled in guilt and self-doubt at the same time that I'm like going the opposite direction, which was not great for us. And I think that ultimately led to my own giving up of it. I was like, this isn't healthy for where we are right now. Maybe in the future we can try it again, or maybe this was just a phase for me to have a broader experience of life. I have a deeper understanding now of what celibacy is, at least for those 8 months, of what happens to me, of how my brain changes. And actually, I would say where I think there's a little bit of culty behavior in the teaching is my brain was hypersexualized because there's a repression happening. And anytime there's repression, there's a deep desire to have the release. And then when you repress the natural ways of the human body to have to find it, you look for, or subconsciously, you start looking for stranger ways because it's like you're trying to have it happen in a roundabout way. Like, oh, like, that wasn't intended. And so yeah, I'm grateful for it. I don't think, I'm not sure if I'll ever do it again, but wow, it's a good experience.
Two things. One question. You said while you were growing frustration and almost like fire within that was not expressed, you said Carly went in the opposite, which was the liberation of her sexuality. Is that what you said?
Yeah. hmm Something like that.
So, are you saying she ultimately felt much better? Meaning in finding her own ways towards her own surrendering femininity, sexuality, and everything. So, because there was not such a pressure put upon her as a feminine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then you said, and then I couldn't handle it anymore. So I just quit, which means I got back to me. She got back to her old ways too.
Yeah. There was a couple elements, and just to add some context to it. Um, on one side, she got to have all the time that she needed to have her own experiences because I'm like, ultimately, I'm not going to have an orgasm, which means as long as you want to go, you can go. As much play as you want to have, we can play. But I couldn't handle very much. It was like, it was like very charged. So she was almost frustrated. It's like great that I can do it whenever I want and have as much as I want, but she couldn't fully express herself in her body because I would, I'm like, I'm having to hold her. I'm like, okay, stay still. Hold on. This is a lot. I don't want to release because it would, in a way, in that time, it would like be a huge setback.
Yeah. So let me add something. This is just a data point or perspective. And I think And I think this is why there's a massive movement of women. There's a massive, I also think there's also the reason why women are not becoming not satisfied with the men
Hmm.
after the birth and everything else. Hence why I asked that question. It's like, what would make, I even went on Reddit to ask this question. What would make a woman have another child, want to have another child with a man she no longer loves? And when I say love, from the woman's perspective, you're talking having heart open to so much love and nurturing and femininity. So this was explained very well by my teacher when I went to Costa Rica a couple months ago. And she pointed out because she can sense the Kundalini energy in the field was arising. And I thought everybody is in the head, but she actually taught Kundalini for some reason and branched off into Tantra. Never did it before when I was there. And then I found that really interesting that she did it. And she said something that was so key and it made me understand female, male relating in a different way too. It's like the man has our portal for opening where we get right away up front with in feminine energy is heart. This is why we're very comfortable with speaking emotions, diving in deep, going, getting to know you on a deeper level, not just on your physical level. So women open up here, men opens up down. So what happened is that women compensated this and opened down to satisfy the men faster, which is why majority of women don't enjoy sex. If
Hmm.
it's in reality is real, that it's done as a compensation for whatever generationally backwards. And you can think about it and just contemplate if this is the case and what does it do for a woman that turns out tomorrow. And I'm not talking Carly because you two have a different relationship, right? So very steady, concrete. But what does it do to a woman who wants to actually not compensate her heart and not
Hmm.
compensate her pussy, most importantly, is
Hmm.
learning about her powers
Yeah.
as a creatrix, as a creative universe herself, as someone, something whose body is meant to extend. And this genetic penetration that is happening, we notice through the gene keys, is like in a collective, is like, wait a minute, but I no longer want to do this. And massive breaks are happening, massive non-relating, not connecting. And I feel, I think, and you know, that you guys are left behind because rather you don't know how to open this
Hmm.
unless you're taught by your parents or unless you have a patient partner and unless you're actually doing a lot of work. You actually have no road to go from the genitals
Yeah. Yeah.
upwards into your heart and move this energy up so that way your genitals are not compensating your massive amount of energy coming and pushing through that,
Yeah.
right? So it's like equal give and take. You have to come back to your heart one or the other way. And no woman is sitting there actually patiently. Time is running out, waiting and teaching you. So majority of women who come
Yeah.
back from such retreats back to their husbands, they're sitting out there waiting, give me, give me, give me. And they're like, yeah, no, no, get up to my level.
Yeah. Well, it
And
has to.
yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
and this is where love gets tested. Love as the exchange, as the buy and take, give and take transaction is getting grilled.
Hmm.
And I think that's why the love between women is very different. Two women and two men is completely different.
Yeah.
It's different. It's like right up front at the door is very different. This is why women feel much more connected right away. It's like it's
Hmm.
immediate invitation to merge. But by the time 12 years later, I have to teach you how to merge, then I have no more time.
Hmm.
It's sad, but I think it's happening on a collective level because we're getting more complex and we're also
Yeah.
understanding these layers of us and we're understanding how to talk to ourselves first and
Hmm.
demand this as non-negotiable. I would rather be alone than be alone with you. That's terrifying and terrible. I can't take it.
Yeah.
Say more, please.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's yeah, the polarity is really huge and it's what if I'm looking for the good of my experience, what I found was by removing as much attention and consciousness away from my lingam to my heart. Like, and I would use breath to go through it just naturally. Like, I didn't even learn through Vita coaching or anything else. I'm just like, okay, I just needed to like deep breathe so that it's not all constricted in order that I could be with Carly and not completely lose it. And then on the other side, so breathing, I'm taking energy away from their consciousness and my heart is opening up. And I'm like ultimately, sure, this feels great for me, but this isn't about me. And I think what's kind of culty about the Gnostic White Tantra is it's actually repressing the women because they are not supposed to be reaching the pinnacle. Well, it doesn't explicitly state this, but it's very keen about the man can't release the seed. And part of that is like you're not moving together, you're just kind of resting and then breathing. And I feel like that's a repression because ultimately when the women's body is liberated, it moves on its own. And this is what Carly has like in the last year or two. She's like, when I get into it and I completely let go and she starts breathing deeply and gets out of her head. She's like, my body is just moving. And if I let it, then it just moves on its own and it's beautiful. And I think when when we as men can remove our desire to fuck, basically, like to like just penetrate and get to that ultimate, like we're trying to get our stress relief through that. We're trying to open our heart and feel emotions through this experience because we block it all and everything else. But we're like what we're talking about with lust and desire, we're not considering the other and their experience. And
Mm.
when we open our heart in the experience and think about what is she feeling? What is her experience? What is the person that I'm with? What depth are they reaching? And am I being sensitive to the to what they're going through and their capacity? And when we do that, then it becomes less about the culmination. It becomes less about that final moment for us and becomes so much richer. And actually, once I got this, um, and now I'm like, I kind of am just going through the motions of like, because she wants me to have an orgasm, and I'm like, okay. But ultimately, I'm learning more and more now to be like, it doesn't always have to be that way. It doesn't always have to end that
Yeah.
way. And in fact, I actually feel better as a man. Sometimes it's it's good. Sometimes it's good and I can relax and rest and feel good about it. But I think because of my history, it's like I almost feel better as a man to come out of it still charged, like still like in that space of unknown. And then I have energy for her whenever she's ready the next time, or I have energy just for life itself because it is wild how as a man how it strips you of like so much power, just like
Yes.
languid and yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. I have so much to say. Can I? Can I?
Yeah, yeah.
And you said it strips you away from your power. So, biologically and physiologically, males are in this sexual power built to outwardly express this energy,
Hmm.
which is yang, which is why this is considered masculine, which is why it's outwardly going out.
Hmm.
And women are yin,
Yeah.
which is very much inside, right? So it's almost like in inner process and
Implosion. Hmm.
Amos, yes. But think about this, and we'll touch base on how these shadows also can transfer. These two such extremes can transfer. In the right hand tantra versus left hand tantra, which I learned recently, I didn't know because I couldn't understand. There's so many lineages coming in from it, which is exact seclusion, 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 seclusion. and preaching or praying to some sort of, I don't know, limits, shall we say. And it's almost branching off on its own in the different parts of the world for millennia. But in the right side Tantra, Shakti as a feminine energy is
Yeah.
not present. It's only Shiva. So you're actually practicing your Shiva energy, which is
Mhm.
almost like outwardly. Hence why in the right hand tantric ways, often there's a fall of the guru through that sexual act. And this happens again and again and again and
Yes, we
again.
talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah. In the left-handed Tantra, there's a total opposite of slowly getting lineages, kind of learning how to become. This is the duality. You're talking Tantra as a duality. You're either on this side or on the Shakti side, praying to the goddess temples and, excavating the goddess powers and everything else. So when we find ourselves in such ways, the non-dual tantra brings it up and says the exact opposite, which is also to the lefted side, which is more feminine side, and from
Hmm.
lineages to learn to get to a point where it's total left-sided tantra. How I understand it, I might be wrong. Don't take me. Just do your research. But how I understand it is, a woman does incorporate. Woman has natural tendency to be nurturing towards other ways. This is why Carly comes in and says, "But I want you to come and be happy."
Yeah.
Even if I am not feeling the ecstasy of the moment, even if I have to
Yeah.
put my ways down in order for you. So it is pure love that comes being expressed when such dualities are welcomed. But the key is that we all both have both energies within. It's a
Yep.
circle and a line that Gafni talks about. It is the yin and yang that, in Eastern cultures is represented by in Buddhism. It is Shiva and Shakti in tantric ways of explaining. Just get chills when I talk about this. So good. Because Shiva, as you said, surrenders to the higher powers of Shakti,
Yeah.
surrenders when
Hmm.
you actually are becoming nothing for everything in front of you. And yet it's so skewed in the way that we're patriarchally trained to think, which is why we compensate so much more of it, because we don't understand it. And we also don't know how to surrender to the powers that it has its own. So
Hmm.
when I am in an intimacy with another feminine power, there's so much interlaying and flowing between masculine and feminine. Each of us knows exactly when, who plays which role.
Yeah.
Hence, we're both feminine. And you're talking about knowing when your masculine comes in order to bring out your feminine unconditionally. And it is almost like I will give up of everything that I am. I would even die so that I can see your power. That
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
deep. This is where I discovered my potential. And it has nothing to do with the personalized ego person who is named that and that. It actually
Yeah.
has to do with your own potential to realize these energies within and play them, because your heart is blasted open, your mind is gone, you don't understand anything, you're on fire, in your whole system lights up, chakra system, energy fields, you name it. I don't know. I really don't know.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't want to know. But what I do want to know, I know exactly when my masculine Shiva, for example, comes in and plays a big role. And at one point, I remember, I just recall this scene, and it's a bit intimate, but I'll share it. It was at the point where, almost like something just got through my body, where I suddenly got so much power in my body that I grabbed, and I just almost like, I don't know how we went from one side to another one. And she was just so surprised. And she was surprised to a point where I didn't know what I'm doing. It was just the power coming through my hands, and I grabbed her as a feather. I felt her like a feather. And we somehow ended up just like, it was like, I don't know how we ended up. She was just so shocked. And she's like, wow. And it was this power flow that threw between us. And she was actually aroused by it, by talking
Hmm.
about the Shiva and the Shakti energy, aroused by it, so much so that she was able to surrender to it even more. And it was
Hmm.
shocking. And we talked about this and we couldn't understand what happened, because it's not normal thing to do. It only happens when you play with these energies within. Hence,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go other than to everything that wants to show up itself through you, both of you.
Mm.
Oh my God,
Beautiful.
we went. So I don't know how to talk about lust anymore, because once you start touching these fields inside of you and you start exchanging them within and with other, then lust is kind of like funny. I don't know. Or maybe just a tool. I don't know. It doesn't even I can't even speak of it, I think.
Um, so when you're out and about and you touch on desire, or I'm just asking for clarity on that, what you just said about lust. It how does that come in?
I think we gave it, I understand it in a negative connotation,
Oh, okay.
in in a very contracting, very limited, very
Yeah.
powerful in a wrong way.
Yeah, it's like it's like powerful for self that it strips power away from the other.
Yes.
Just a second, I gotta answer myself. Okay, he's been knocking and asking. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So, because I'm still learning myself, and what I mean by that is I and as Pisces, I don't think we have had many moments of unconsciousness of what the other is experiencing, at least in my personal history. I can only think of like a few instances, a few handful of instances where I had a sexual experience or was desiring a sexual experience without consideration of the other, um, and usually involving alcohol. There's like some numbing that's happening in order that that shadow comes up and is like, okay, now I'll take over. But in learning about myself, I used to think like any desire that I had toward a woman, because I'm very attracted to women, um, is lust. And that's how it's framed in the church and how I was taught Christianity. And the more I'm learning about this energy and myself, the more aware I am that, okay, yes, like the attraction is happening, but I'm almost feeling it as like the way I can describe it is like in a sense of like physics. Like I'm the north polarity on a magnet, and there are all these south polarities that naturally I'm like drawn towards. And then when I look at it that way, it's like, of course, this is biological. It's just a part of your humanity. And then there's a sense of like not repressing it, not pushing it away, not running from it. And then there's an acceptance, and then it removes like the charge. It removes like the need that comes up.
Yeah. What brings you turbulence in wanting is wanting to have it.
Yeah, and then do I struggle against myself to not go after it, or do I struggle against their desires or their comfort or their situation and just pushing to get it? It's like ultimately there's a denial of self or there's a denial of other in the shadow. And
Yeah.
maybe denial of both in reality.
Yeah. And what does that mean to you? Like, what I guess the question is, what does that mean to you? That on the physical, physiological level, there is an attraction. It doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter. There's no story behind it, just is.
Yeah, right.
Yet you're not doing anything about it. You're just aware of it. But it causes you the inner turbulence because you want it. And the moment you say, oh, wait a minute, this is just the primal, it's normal, there's a surrender to it and acceptance of it, which makes you compassionate towards yourself because you're just a human being
Yeah.
and you're here actually to extend the humanity, and you have the power in you and you can't help it. So there's a level of compassion as well as turbulence that it's coming on both sides, playing its own way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because you're only in the darkest, you in this school, in this cave that has no light, it's actually the brain. We're sitting with ourselves.
Hmm.
Nobody knows your thoughts, your fantasies, your worlds. Unless you
Yeah.
speak them, nobody will ever know other than you. You're going in the dark nights every night, sleeping with who knows who and what and where. So you have to figure out how to deal with your own self and look into your own parts, dark
Hmm.
sides, shadows, fantasies, and everything else. And I think that's what this shadow speaks specifically. It's that inner turbulence that you are capable. You can if you want to, but yet you're trying to figure out what is it and self-analyze. Is this fair? Is this good? Is this who I want to become? And is this just a part of me that I don't need to act on and react on?
Hmm. Yeah, there's a deepening um that happens in this shadow because ultimately when we start out feeling the feelings and then we're taught we're either taught or it's just like if you just think about the way society is structured right now, it's like there's no natural bridge for a child becoming a teenager and then these feelings come up to actually express, understand, or have compassion for them. So there's like you have to you have to do this in a roundabout way or hide in the room or seek it out on the internet or it's just like
Yeah.
yeah, there's a deep need for it's really powerful that the city here is compassion, the gift is humanity because um this shadow is over the whole world, I think, for most of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's causing the turmoils. And it's also causing us to force the certainties, which is why we're more and more divided because we're trying to be certain.
Yeah.
And ironically, I don't know, did this happen 200 years ago? But we're becoming less and less certain. We
Yeah.
can actually no longer trust whatever is ever, whoever is saying this is it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the yin and the yang is like yeah, it's wild.
So what do we do? Get me out of here. Sit. Sit
Yep.
with it. Have a coffee with it. Enjoying our talks because
And
this
yeah,
does happen.
join us in a container. I'm excited. I would love to have more voices, contribution. It would be so fun.
Yeah. To have such space, I think it's rare. It's become, I feel it's going to become rarer and rarer to have a space where of uncertainty and not dogmas, dogmatic ways of certain containers. This is what you get.
Yeah.
This is why I can't promise anything because it's heavily and only dependent on you, but I can give you the space and time.
Hmm.
Wow. You know, we're talking 2.5 hours already. I cannot believe this was good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.